had to catch myself right at the beginning.
I threw him off. Sorry, listeners.
Jesus. No, the problem is, hang on. Let me get the intro out. I can do this. Greetings and welcome to the Power Gamer Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Dawson, joined as always by fellow host Johnny Paulus. Johnny, I've been sick as a dog this week, and
sorry to hear that.
I'm on the mend. But as you, the audience is now cued in on my very first breath. It's not COVID, thankfully. Apparently, there's other viral diseases out there, but man, I've been fighting it this past week.
Rough.
And been better for like the past 2 days, which is to say that the days that I wasn't better were ridiculously fucking bad. So
damn.
Doing better. It's a big week though, and let's throw it to you real quick, Johnny. Welcome in. How are you, sir?
Doing great. I had a blink and you miss it weekend, unfortunately. We had our rehearsal. We had a rehearsal yesterday, and then I had a gig last night. So yesterday, I think I sang for like 7 hours or something ridiculous.
I would not have been able to do that in my
it was not easy.
And how was the gig? That's kind of where we left off.
Gig was great. Gig was great. I mean, from the moment I started my first song, they were singing along and big cheers. So they loved me. It was great.
Where was this?
Shotty's in Fed Hill.
Shotty's.
Yeah, Shotty's Charm City.
Man, I fucking hate Fed Hill.
Yeah, it was the gig went well.
I guess it's Baltimore for those that aren't around here. So like,
yeah,
even though Federal Hill is nicer,
yeah,
it's surrounded by bullshit.
Yep.
So you still have to go through it.
Well, I mean, it was one of those perfect gigs where like anytime you have a gig in the city.
Did you just launch a soda bottle?
I did. Sorry. Anytime you have a gig in the city, like parking is always like the first headache of the evening. It's always like, where can I park? How far do I have to load my gear? So here I am, Saturday night, driving through Baltimore. I get to the bar, and there's literally a parking space directly in front of the door that I have to load in. And from that moment, I'm like, it's going to be a good night. It's going to be a good night. Parking's right here. Everybody's in a good mood. It's going to be a good time. And it was. We had a blast.
Well, that's good to hear. Our rehearsal went well.
Yeah,
show upcoming in a few weeks here. It's really coming up quick, actually. It'll be 2 weeks from this Friday.
Yep, that's crazy.
We will be on the stage at the Annapolis Let's Go Music Festival. Opening for some rather big names, it would seem.
Yep.
So your Power Gamer podcast boys are going to do a little bit of a D-list rock star flex here. Coming up, opening for some 90s has-beens. Is that fair to call them at this point? I don't feel like Live, Collective Solar Filter are really relevant in any way other than for what they have been. So,
yeah, I mean, I Live has a lot of hit songs. So like, they're definitely not a band I would ever call like a one-hit wonder.
No, but they're has-beens.
Yeah, I think I mean has-been's a little harsh, but I don't think it's inaccurate.
Is it just the connotation of calling somebody a has-been?
Yeah, I don't know if that. I mean, are they still culturally relevant in 2023? No, but I mean, there's still all those bands are still played on the radio all the time.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know, because I think about people like Billy Joel who still like sell out baseball stadiums, and you're like, okay, he's not a has-been. It's Billy fucking Joel, you know.
That's true.
But Collective Soul.
311's playing Saturday. They're definitely not a has-been. I'd say they still probably sell out big shows.
They're getting close to it, but yeah, they're not quite there yet.
Not quite there yet.
Yeah, they haven't really set the world on fire with anything in the probably past decade.
Yep.
Actually, God, that Amber song was like 2003.
Yeah, they really haven't done much, have they?
Yeah, it's been a long time. So, but 311 fans are like a weird cult. So
they are. I've never understood it.
You know, it's like the soundtrack to Troy's House. You know, 311. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what the fuck we're doing here. We're off to a rough start. Welcome in.
We're gonna be fine. Everything's fine, Mike.
It's the Power Gamer Podcast. This is episode 117 of the show. It's a big week for you gaming people, ourselves included. Probably Johnny a little bit more so, just based on the activity that I'm reading here, and my process of playing games. So we're going to start this week's episode, of course, by first discussing what we've been playing this week. Before we get into it, please take a moment to support us for free. That's right. You don't have to do anything with your money to support us, because we don't have any avenues for you to do things with your money to support us. This is a completely free podcast that we do for fun, but we like growing our audience. So if you've been enjoying the show, as hundreds of you do every week, we would just ask that maybe this week do something a little nice for your boy. You know, Johnny's got growing kids. I've got kids in college and stuff. Maybe share the episode on social media. Maybe leave a 5-star review wherever you're listening to it. Maybe follow us on Twitter. Johnny's very active at Power Gamer Cast over on Twitter. Maybe just take a couple seconds extra out of your day thinking about whatever stupid conversation we had where you disagreed with me and swore, that Mike Dawson's a fucking idiot. maybe in that moment go, he's a fucking idiot, but I'll like the Twitter because Johnny runs it. So take a moment.
You can go on there and DM us on the Twitter, and I will answer. Take
a moment. Without further ado, let's get into what we've been playing this week. I'll get mine out of the way first.
Okay.
It's we got a bit to chew on here, but you've got the biggin in your stead. Everybody knows that we're talking about Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. More on that here in a moment. First, let me bore you with Harvestella for the last time. Actually, I'm not going to bore you because I've beaten this game. Number one, thank fucking God, I've beat Harvestella. I never have to play this game ever again, nor will I. That's not to say that the game was terrible, because it was slightly better than terrible. It's comedic. Everything about this game's fucking hilarious, but it's fun for the right person. So can I recommend our audience unanimously go out and buy Harvestella? Abso-fucking-lutely not. It's for very few people. One, you have to like farming simulators. Turns out I like farming simulators. I didn't know that about myself. This is the first one I've ever played.
Time to play Stardew.
The problem with this game is everything about this game is that it's a farming simulator that's also an action JRPG, and that there's time of day, like farming simulators have. Your character gets tired at 10 o'clock each day and has to go the fuck to bed, or they start losing stamina, and then eventually you just fall over dead. So like you have to go to sleep in this game. So every time you're out progressing, you always have to be mindful of the clock in Harvestella, because at some point you've got to get to a save point, travel back home, and tuck your ass into bed, which ironically enough is hilariously realistic. Like, you as a person do in fact need to sleep. It's just not a very great mechanic to have when you're clearing a massive dungeon, having to go, oh wait, I need to go to bed, or oh wait, I better stop and eat a sandwich. The other thing that's tough with the game is you do have to play the farming simulator because that is how you get food, which you have to eat to have stamina to be able to do combat. It's how you make juices, which you have to drink to heal because you can't just eat food. Your player does get full, and when they're full, they can't eat any more food. So you do like there's a lot of shit going on here. And you might progress through a dungeon, but then have completely run out of sandwiches and juice, and then like need to take 3-4 days of the game to farm and restock. So like some of this stuff probably sounds cool to some people, and to other people it's like, what the fuck? Johnny, you would hate this game, I think. I think you would absolutely abhor this game. I think a lot of people would, because it's also difficult. It is the Dark Souls of farming simulators. I really liked it, though. I thought it was good. But that all being said, when it came time for me to sit down and think about it, its flaws just cannot hide. So, kind of a spoiler, but not really a spoiler. None of you are going to fucking play this game.
That's probably true.
The end boss was like straight up the end boss from Elden Ring, just copy pasted into this game. It was
like giant sea beast
in space, yeah. Dude, the story just goes so far off the fucking rails with this. I don't want to spoil it, but like the same side, like I really almost want to talk about how completely fucking ludicrous it is. But I do know there is at least one listener that is playing this game right now, so I'll hold off. But just beware of fucking dragons in space is all I'm gonna fucking say. Harvestella. You're like a 6.5. It's like
that's about what I was thinking you were gonna say.
It's like a 6.5. It's okay. It's right for the right person. It's too long. It doesn't do anything really right. But it's still fun. It's still something I'm thinking about some. So, if you're really into JRPGs and you're really into that sort of thing, or if you're on a quest to play every Square Enix release from 2022 like I am, play Harvestella. Next up, Redfall. I did get to spend more time with Redfall, and I actually went back to my Xbox because my sick ass didn't want to sit at my desk when I was playing it. So I played on an Xbox some more. Same sentiments as before. Is the game really bad? Yeah. Is it really fun to play, though? Also, yeah. I can't imagine the human being that's willing to sit and play this game by themselves. But sitting and playing it with someone else that you have fun playing games with, where you can just appreciate what a fucking train wreck it is, but it works well enough that you can still have fun while you're playing it. I'm having an absolute blast with this game. I think it's really funny. And the story is terrible on top of all the mechanical issues with the game. But like it's terrible in a comedically, like it's like Evil Dead 1. Like where it's trying, but then it just ends up being really funny because it sucks. It's that. So I'm enjoying Redfall. But yeah, it stinks.
How does that happen? How does Arcane make this?
Well, so that's you know what? That's a great talking point, Johnny, because a lot of people have been saying just that. Like how does Arcane make this game? How did they stoop to this level? And it's like I've played a lot of Arcane games. You know what I mean? And it's really not that different from a lot of other Arcane games, in my opinion. Like, I don't know why people are so up on Arcane. Like, yeah, Deathloop was fun. I had a good time with it. Its story was neat. The concept was cool. Putting together this puzzle. But you know, outside of Deathloop, right? Prey, Dishonored. Okay, let's go back to Dishonored real quick. Dishonored's cool. It's got really good stealth mechanics and stuff, but I mean, is Dishonored really like some untouchable game to people?
No. I mean, and I'm on the opposite side of that coin where I own every single one of those Arcane titles, and I've finished exactly 0 of them. I don't know what it is about those games, but all of the Dishonoreds and Prey and Deathloop, I just can't. I completely lose interest in them for reasons that I can't even like quantify.
Well, and it's not like, you know, it's not like Arcane is some legendary beast. The first game that they made that anyone gave a shit about was Dishonored in 2012.
Yep.
If you're the one person that thought Dark Messiah of Might and Magic on 360 was fucking amazing, I don't know what's wrong with you. Okay, I remember when that game came out. The game is a pile of garbage. So Dishonored 2, then it was Prey. Then they released the Dishonored Death of the Outsider DLC. Prey was okay. It's good. It's solid. Dishonored, the graphics from Redfall look very similar to Dishonored. But Dishonored and Redfall are really fucking similar, honestly. Like with the hub and the way you interact with characters back in the hub, like that's super borrowed from Dishonored. The only thing that's really different, the character still has special abilities, but it's 4 characters. The main thing is the combatant AI is worse in Redfall somehow. Like that's really the big knock on Redfall.
Yeah.
That and the graphics look dated. But then Wolfenstein Youngblood, that wasn't great.
Oh, I've played that. I liked that.
Yeah. That was
I didn't realize that was Arcane.
Well, it wasn't. It was they were tasked to help Machine Games with it.
Got it.
But so then Deathloop, Redfall. So I don't know why people act like this is a huge step backward for Arcane. Like it's kind of just
back to normal.
Well, normal for them's only been since Dishonored. Like I don't think it's super far off from those products. A few tweaks fixing the AI, the game's probably as good as it could possibly be.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's not some shit show that you can't play. Right? Which is what I feel like I'm putting out there when I talk about it. It's like I am having fun with it, but the AI is comically stupid.
Wow.
But
it's so weird.
Does that not mean you still can't get swarmed and fucking clapped by the AI? You still can. I'm picking up Grumpy off the ground after getting splatted by 6 vampires at once. It happens. But the games, play the game if you have Game Pass and a friend. Like seriously. I don't know where the hate comes from. Like that's what I'm saying when people are like, "Oh, this is the studio that made Deathloop. How could they possibly release Redfall? It's the death of the Xbox." It's like, the fuck are you people on? It's not great. It's a mid-tier feeling game from some studio that you seem to have anointed a status that it doesn't really deserve. Like, and it's not like, this is the other thing that drives me crazy, right? When people talk about Xbox, they're always trying to talk about them as though they're on Sony's pedestal. They're fucking not.
100%.
Like Playground Games and Coalition, and then nobody else. The Gears team and the Forza team. That's it.
This is we're this is not what the Microsoft fanboys want to hear, but like, I hope you enjoy your Dreamcast, because that's where this feels right now.
Well, no, it's just like the 360 still, in my opinion. Honestly, like, what's different? I don't know why people are acting like the sky's fucking falling over here. You're not catching up to Sony until you do what Sony did.
Yep.
You know, Redfall wasn't even a game built under the guidance of Microsoft.
That's true.
When that game was announced, it was announced for every console. It was supposed to come to PlayStation, but just, you know, in the middle of its development, Microsoft buys ZeniMax. So that's the only reason it's a Xbox exclusive. It has nothing to do with Microsoft, really. You know,
yeah,
it's just kind of a whiff project from Arcane. Whatever. Okay, that's fine. It's still fun to play. You go on Twitter and you look at user review, like, people are having fun playing it. So lighten up, everyone. Play Redfall. It's fine. Just don't pay $70 for it. Maybe don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
But do play it. Where was I? Okay. Big talking point for this week, at least one of them. I'm gonna take a drink here so I can continue talking. Just do.
It's the one game we have in common this week.
Star Wars Jedi: Survivor. So it's definitely the Star Wars Jedi series. I like that they've maintained a tradition of wacky fucking naming involving the colon. Right? Because you've got Jedi Knight, and now you have Jedi. But you have to remember, Jedi Knight was originally Dark Forces 2, Jedi Knight. And then we had the sequel to Jedi Knight, which had nothing to do with Dark Forces anymore.
Nothing.
So our wacky naming conventions with colons continues.
I think it was actually Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Academy, I think?
Yeah, in Jedi
like
Outcast.
Jedi Outcast, that was another one,
Yep. Oh, yeah. So, Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Johnny, I've played quite a lot of this game. I guess we'll go back and forth here some.
I'm on the second planet. I'm not far.
You're dug in. Okay.
I'm dug in. Yeah,
you're on Kobo. So I guess I'll get us started here with Jedi Survivor. I'm more than halfway through the game at this point. Let's start with the bad. How about let's do that? Let's start with the bad, because I really hadn't played enough of it last week to say much about it, other than I started Jedi Survivor because I beat Dead Space. That was my shtick last week. So Jedi Survivor is really got some chugging issues. All right. It's really got some chugging issues. So we did a story 3 weeks ago about its problems on PC. Its problems are everywhere. All right, let's get that out of the way. Maybe not as bad as some of the issues that PC players were having, but the PS5, even running in performance mode, is having some serious issues with the optimization on this game. Serious. On Kobo, there is a cantina. And when you walk up to the door of the cantina, the door, like all Star Wars doors, senses that you have appeared and will open. And within the cantina, there are other doors that will do the same thing. However, upon my first getting to know you sequence with this cantina on Kobo, I did not know that some doors would open that would open. Does that make sense? Because I would walk up to them and they wouldn't open. But then I realized that the game was just chugging butts, and I needed to stand there for a solid 10 to 15 seconds for it to load and go, oh, bzz, and open the door. That's a thing in this game. Anytime you go into like a really dense area at first, right? I will see the game go from a magical 60 frames per second to like chug at 15 for like 5 seconds. So there is some optimization shit wrong with this game. Textures loading in, all sorts of hairiness. That is the bad. Done talking about the bad. Here's the good. Those interruptions happen at points in the game that really don't affect the game. You know, other than the door thing at the Cantina on Kobo, and even that's like kind of a running joke in my mind that there's particularly this one door that always takes a little bit of time to open. But none of the stuttering and stuff, it's not like fucking Elden Ring on PC where it'd start chugging ass in the middle of a boss fight and then you die. It's just at weird spots that really don't have a lot of impact on the gameplay. And I think that's probably why the game's been reviewing really well. Pretty much unanimously, is because it's super easy to look past the performance problems, at least on console. So you don't really care that much, because then anytime it's not doing that, which is most of the time, it's running great and the game's really fun to play. And I mean, it is such a step forward from Fallen Order in all the right ways.
Yep.
Combat feels better. This game also, to me, does not feel nearly as difficult as Fallen Order. And I don't feel that way because it's, you know, an undifficult game. I feel that way because everything feels so much more responsive. Like the parrying just works so much better. And, you know, getting the rhythm of your attacks feels so much better. And like, I'm kind of curious if you felt the same way or not, because I've really, my time with this game, I'm like, man, either I'm just like badass now, or this one just feels like it works better than Fallen Order.
I I have a theory. You've just rocked your way through Elden Ring and Demon Souls and Dark Souls. I think you've gotten better at that style of game. I mean, I played Fallen Order on hard and beat the whole thing on hard, and I'm playing the new one on normal, and I agree that I think the combat feels better, but difficulty wise, I don't. It doesn't seem easier to me. I mean, it seems about the same. The parry system feels about the same, but I mean, it does feel like. It feels like a good sequel. It feels like they've improved everything that they needed to improve. I'm liking the additional side characters a lot, which is great.
Oh, dude, when we talk next week about this,
yeah,
the third planet is sort of when everything just sort of meshes together from the old game into the new. Mm-hmm. That's like the you're hooked moment, like for super real hook. So. You're getting there. You're a few hours away though.
So on to your performance issue. My main complaint with the performance on this game, and this is like such a nitpick, but it drives me nuts. I devote countless amounts of time to tweaking the games that I play on PC so that I don't see screen tearing and I don't see stutter. And like, you know, I'll turn a setting down if it's going to give me smoother gameplay. That's just how I function. There's something in Jedi Order. It's only in certain rooms, but when it happens, it drives me fucking crazy. And what it is when you rotate the camera, there's this weird, glitchy, screen tearing, like big blocks of white in the corner of the screen, like it's literally trying to catch up with your camera turning to try to fill that screen up. And it's so ugly and so jarring. It drives me absolutely crazy.
Does VSync address that, or?
I'm playing it on PS5. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I'm playing it on console, so I don't know what the PC experience is.
I haven't seen that though. Wait.
Yeah, no, I see these big blocks of white. Now maybe I turned my camera speed up a little bit, And maybe that's the problem. Maybe because my camera has the ability to turn faster, that the game is having a hard time keeping up.
I also like, just as general practice, when I go into a game, I kill or severely turn down motion blur, because
Oh yeah, I hate motion
it
blur.
makes me physically fucking ill.
Yeah,
And
no,
I did that
it's my
right away
least
on this
favorite.
game.
Yeah,
So maybe that could help too.
maybe.
Um,
But I mean, overall, again, I'm not super far in the game yet, but I am very, very excited to play this game, and I think its release date was unfortunate because I am now my attention has shifted elsewhere for the moment.
so what I'm doing with Jedi Survivor, right, is I am beating that game before I put Tears of the Kingdom into my Switch. I am
Okay.
not doing that until I beat Jedi Survivor. So like, it's an extreme motivator. I'll have Jedi Survivor knocked out in the next couple of days here.
Yeah.
Because there's a Zelda game out. It's just sitting there, but I'm like, this Jedi Survivor game is out of control good. Like, it's really out of control how good it is. The storytelling in it is fabulous. And it's just something about the interaction between the characters in these games, because, as you all probably know, having listened to me and listening to me uh, talk about Star Wars, I do not give a fuck about Jedis. I don't give a fuck about their cause. I just want them to be Sith fodder. So this really, to me, what makes these Jedi games good is just how well done, Cal is, and the rest of the cast around Cal. Leave it vague book for now, because you may not know who's coming. So,
Well, you're right, because it would be very easy for them to go, the easy route with let's make a Jedi game. Easy route number one would be make it a character we already know. Make a Obi-Wan game, make a whatever, a Luke Skywalker game. That would be easy option number one. Easy option two would be create a new character that is just like another character that we know. And the thing I like about Cal is, like, he's a scrapper. He's got a little bit of a gunslinger swagger. He doesn't talk like a Jedi, really. Like, the Jedis have this certain kind of way that they communicate and stuff. And Cal's got a little bit more like big dick swagger, I guess. Cal's awesome. I like him a lot. And I personally hope that they bring him into the Mandoverse or something. I think they could bring him into one of those shows, and I think it would be huge.
yeah, he's cool. Real actor is basically Cal anyway, so
Yep.
I don't know the guy's name. It's fine.
Something Monahan.
It's fine. No,
Dominic Monahan.
if he does something outside of the games, we'll probably know it. But
Cameron Monahan.
Yeah, the little commercial that he did with Mark Hamill was great.
Yeah, that was good.
But mainly because of Mark Hamill.
So the games I've been playing this week, Jedi Survivor, which we just kind of talked about, and the review embargo lifted on Zelda Tears of the Kingdom about 2 days before it released. And being that it was my first pick on the fantasy draft for the Power Gamer podcast, I was very happy to see that this is now the second best rated Zelda game of all time, sitting at a 96 on Metacritic. And that got my hype turned up so much that I was trying to figure out, I wonder if GameStop is still doing a midnight launch. So I called the Annapolis Mall one. No, we're not open till midnight. I call the Bowie one. Nah, we're not open till midnight. I call the Crofton one. Yeah, we're open at 10. You gotta come into the store. You gotta prepay. We'll mark your receipt, and then you go get in line. And I was like, all right, fucking sweet. So I went down there thinking there was going to be 10, maybe 20 people. Get out there, park my car. There's a line of probably 40 or 50 people outside, which made my little old school gamer heart glow. It was pretty awesome to see a whole line of passionate Zelda fans. And there was even anytime there's launch events like this, there's always the one person that makes it a point to like they bring the camping chair, and like you can tell that guy probably started sitting there at like 8 p.m. just because that's what he was doing that day. So I did the whole thing. I waited in line. I went and I picked it up at midnight. I popped it in. Went through the opening cinematics of the game, sort of introduced to the story and what's going on, and it became pretty apparent that this is a very, very special Zelda game. IGN said it made Breath of the Wild feel like a first draft. They felt like Tears of the Kingdom had improved it in every way. One of the ballsiest things I think that they did with this game is completely undid all of the abilities from the last game. They're all gone. You can no longer create bombs. You no longer have your magnetic powers. All of that shit is gone. You now just have the new abilities that they showed in that gameplay trailer where you can attach items to one another. You have mechanical items that can be attached to things and then turned on by whacking them. And you can attach things to your weapons and attach things to your shields and attach things to your arrows. One of the first things I did just to see if it would work, I was looking into the mouth of a cave, and there was a mine shaft with mine carts sitting off to the side and rails going into the cave. Now, any rational person would just pick up the mine cart, put it on the tracks, and then get in the mine cart. I decided that I was going to take the mine cart and fuse it with my shield so that I could shield slide down the rail to see if it would work, and it fucking did. If you take a mine cart and attach it to the back of your shield and you do the little jump flip thing like from Breath of the Wild, you basically have a skateboard in Zelda. This game is so good. So far, the puzzles are even crazier because of how open-ended these creations end up being. There's no longer just one way to solve it. Any of these puzzles, there's multiple different ways that you could do it. I don't want to go too much further into it. I don't want to spoil a whole lot, but if you enjoy puzzles, if you enjoy figuring shit out, if you enjoy creating things and building things and solving things logically, the combat is essentially the same as Breath of the Wild. But otherwise, the rest of it feels like the next chapter. I mean, it feels like a new game. It really, really does. Mike had me worried, saying it was gonna be DLC, and I'm happy to report that it is not. This world is very big. There are tons of underground places to explore. There are tons of places up high to explore. I think this is probably going to be a shoe-in for Game of the Year. I know I said that Hogwarts was probably my top choice, but this feels like something really, really, really special. I didn't think I would get the warm and fuzzies like I did the first time I played Breath of the Wild, and so far I am. This game is just absolutely blowing my mind every moment I play it. Is awesome. Mike, you're in for a very, very good time, my friend.
I have nothing to say about it yet. Not until I finish Jedi Survivor.
Can't wait to hear you play. I'm really curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, my preconceptions of it have not changed. Especially now that there's so much gameplay footage of it floating around. It still looks extremely dated to me. And I don't think
it does look dated. It does look dated. I will absolutely give you that.
Well, there was some noise this week because a lot of people were hats-offing a bad review on Tears of the Kingdom. I don't know if you saw this. Kotaku actually did a report on someone else's 6 out of 10 review on Tears of the Kingdom. Did you see this story?
No, I didn't.
So one reviewer decided to stand on their own from actually a decently known website, Gfinity, that said this game is a 6 out of 10 and then wrote an entire article about why it's a 6 out of 10. And I read it. I read the article. And a lot of the gripes that I had with Tears of the Kingdom, not Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, he presents. And I'm like, okay, a lot of the things that I said were bad about Breath, this person seems to think the same thing about. So I'm going to be interested to see how I take this game, because yeah, I feel like, in terms of review scores, right? Because that's one of the points we were talking on with it. I think most reviewers are spineless weasels that would not dare break rank when reviewing a Zelda game, because you're just going to get shit on. So, I don't know if you agree or disagree with that, but I think people are going to kid glove a game like Zelda when it comes time to review it, because it's a Zelda game. And so many of them have been like, the best game of all time. IGN gave fucking Skyward Sword a 10 out of 10. Remember? Does anybody think that?
Nope.
So I am taking everything with a grain of salt. It's shiny and new. But I'm not, I can almost promise I'm not going to think it's the best Zelda game of all time.
Well, I know one of your main gripes with Breath of the Wild is the fact that there wasn't enough story, and I can already tell you that this feels like canonically it's going to be one of the most important Zelda games. I think there's going to be more reveals into the universe and the history of Hyrule in this game than we've ever had.
And that's good.
I think this is going to be a very important story-wise Zelda game.
And that's good. I mean, but, honestly, like, my favorite one of all time isn't the most story dense. Like, it doesn't beat you over the head with story. It's just what's there is cool, and the world's cool, and figuring out the levels is what's cool. So I am excited that,
dungeons are back.
Getting into that. I'm hoping that they're not as monotonous as the machines were in Breath of the Wild, where all 4 of them were basically the same aesthetic with a slight variant twist. It's tan. I hope you like tan. It's very tan.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. I could play this and think it's the best game I've ever played in my life. Or I could play it and, think it's very good, or I could play it and think it's fucking terrible. So we will see. I want to be fair to Jedi Survivor, though, which is just an exceptional game. So I don't want to interrupt playing it with something else. And you know what? You're probably right. I can probably say without even playing it, because it was the most anticipated game 2 years in a row at the Game Awards, that, this game's going to get shoot in for more accolades than it should, because it's a Zelda game. Which is just kind of unfortunate, because like Hogwarts has been a massive success. But can you imagine an IGN having the balls to be like, Hogwarts is our game of the year?
No.
Right. It's not the world we live in. There's too much politics and stuff. So that's why you and I, we do it differently, because we don't get paid. So fuck y'all.
Facts. But no, I mean, just on a real tip, the building, the changes that ascend, the new ability where you can travel upwards through things, they didn't really explain it in the YouTube, but it kind of works anywhere. Like, you can see a giant mountaintop. If you can find a cave underneath, you can travel all the way up through the whole fucking mountain. Getting around is so much easier, and the fact that now I can grab a couple pieces of equipment, stick a fan on it, and just go fly to where I want to go, it's so fucking fun. It feels like they took what makes Lego fun and just somehow found a way to merge that with a Zelda game. It's bizarre what they did here, but it's awesome.
The Zelda purist in me is absolutely.
You're gonna be okay.
Not it's liking fun. Anything that you just said.
It's okay. You're gonna be fine.
It'd be like being able to get past the Pegasus blocks and fucking any prior Zelda game without the Pegasus boots. Like, we'll see. I hope I love it because it's been a while. It has for me. So, I did. You know, it was on your recommendation that I did finally go back and play Breath of the Wild, and I had a good time with it. You know, I didn't think it was bad. Didn't think it was the most seminally important game of all time, but you know, I had a good time with it.
I just love the pure adventure of exploration, and they capture that so well in Breath of the Wild and in Tears of the Kingdom. Of just you can pick a direction and go do anything. There's not really a lot of open world games where you really can go fucking anywhere. You know, most open world games have some built-in story beat where you can't go there yet, or you go into the next area and there's beasts that are level 20 and they one-shot you. That really doesn't happen in these games. These games you can go do this game in any fucking order you want. And it's something so freeing about that. There's no right or wrong way to figure out these puzzles. There's no right or wrong way to beat the game.
I am looking forward to it. It is absolutely the very next thing that I'm doing. If it's better than Breath of the Wild, then you know it's going to.
I'm only, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours in. I definitely can't say it's better than Breath of the Wild yet, but I'm very excited about what I've played, and I'm counting the minutes until I can get off this podcast and go play it some more.
Fair enough. Well, that does actually wrap what we've been playing this week. So some important things to note real quick. Number one, we've spoken quite a bit, mainly because of my big care for products made by BioWare. And I've been following Dreadwolf's beleaguered and fucking crazy long development cycle for such a long time.
Yeah.
One of the first episodes we did was talking about where the fuck this Dragon Age game is, which has been in development now since 2017. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time, once again, to talk about Dreadwolf, the upcoming Dragon Age game from BioWare. That's right. An interesting report from Eurogamer. So they were covering the financial earnings report published by Electronic Arts, and here's the news drop from Eurogamer. So EA has released its latest financial earnings report, confirming record bookings of $1.95 billion for its most recent quarter. And alas, that developer BioWare's highly anticipated Dragon Age Dreadwolf won't be out until at least April of next year. Now, this is solution by deduction. I'll continue. Dragon Age Dreadwolf, which has been in development since 2017, has never been given an official release date, but reports last year suggested BioWare was targeting a late 2023 launch for the long-awaited title. Yes. Hopes for a 2023 release among fans remained unabated when last October the studio confirmed Dreadwolf had reached the alpha stage of development and was playable to the very end. That was the last time we spoke about this game.
Yep.
But those hopes have now been dashed through omission via Electronic Arts' newly revealed release schedule for the current financial year. EA's schedule includes all announced titles launching before next April, with Lord of the Rings, Heroes of Middle-earth, Super Mega Baseball 4, and the F1 2023 game. I can't wait for that. All due in Q1 this year, while Q2 brings Immortals of Avium, Madden 24, and EA Sports FC, which is the game that replaced FIFA since they lost the naming rights. Electronic Arts' final announced game, NHL 24, arrives in Q3 of the current financial year. And beyond that, the publisher notes it also has an unannounced EA Sports title, and an unannounced racing game coming before the financial year's through. Which is to say, not a sniff of Dragon Age Dreadwolf before financial year 2025 begins on the 1st of April, 2024. So, no Dragon Age coming, at least until midway through next year. Yeah. I am actually, for someone that doesn't give anyone benefit of the doubt, I'd kind of thought it would be very impossible for this game not to come out this year. But here we are.
Yeah.
No Dreadwolf. So this is a little bit interesting. But I guess, Johnny, do you have any thoughts on this delay from BioWare? That's not even really a delay because we didn't have a date, but just
we never had a date. I mean, if if word comes out that it's alpha and it's playable beginning to end, and then the next bit of news we hear
that was last year that we got that news,
right? That's what I'm saying. And with all the time that's passed between then and now, where it's apparently not coming out this year, that would lead me to believe that, are they going back to the drawing board again? Like that sounds like some major tweaking. That doesn't sound like adjusting this or adjusting that. It sounds like the game is not where they want it to be yet. And BioWare has been cooked with half-baked releases. I mean, that's what's been their downfall recently, has been games that aren't quite there yet and they just get released. So hopefully this is just a sign of BioWare learning and trying to not do that. But it's not a great look. It doesn't give me a whole lot of hope. I mean, I love the Dragon Age line. I want this game to do well. I want it to be awesome. And hopefully this just means that they're just going to make the game better. I just hope it doesn't mean that they've given up hope and are going to... Man, I don't know. This is bizarre. I thought for sure this was coming out this year.
Well, I guess smoke to the fire, and this is more industry insider stuff, so I don't even think they talked about this in the article, but the production director for Dreadwolf left earlier this year. I don't know if you remember that. It's this cat.
I do. Yeah, I do remember that.
Mac Walters, who had been with BioWare. He joined them in 2003 as a writer on Jade Empire.
Didn't he have some sexual harassment drama, or am I getting my wires crossed?
Wires crossed.
Okay.
So Mac Walters was part of Jade Empire. He was part of the Mass Effect games. He was the lead writer on Mass Effect 2 and 3. He was a senior writer on the first game. So he was the project director for Mass Effect Legendary Edition. So 20 years with BioWare. He's the production director on Dreadwolf. And yeah, 4 months ago he left. So that's not a good sign.
No, that doesn't look great, does it?
So just so many problems for BioWare, and you know, it's been so long. Like the last game that they had that was widely accepted as good was in 2014. Dragon Age Inquisition.
Yep.
Because
God damn, that was 2014. Holy
yeah, that was an early PS4 game that was also PS3, right? Then it came out in both generations.
Yep.
And then for BioWare from that point forward, you'll remember they had the Shadow Realms game that got canceled, that they showed at E3, and I mean it looked bad. It was the asymmetrical 4v1 game.
I don't remember that.
That sort of looked like, you know, a third person Baldur's Gate, but it was you and a party of 3 others going against a person playing as the boss or whatever. It looked terrible. Then Mass Effect Andromeda, which came out as a giant pile of doo-doo, even though I really love that game. Then Anthem, which
Dead on arrival.
has some people that like it for some reason.
That game was dead on beta.
Yep. Then
I remember we were all pumped for that game. They released the beta, and like before the weekend was done, we were all like, "Well, okay."
Then
won't be coming back to
this.
this.
Then they took the easy W with Mass Effect Legendary Edition, and then Dreadwolf was supposed to come out, and life's good, and here we are. So, I think in part, what the problem is, because since Mass Effect 3, right? They never had any games canceled before Mass Effect 3. Since Mass Effect 3, they've had the Shadow Realms game canceled. They had a Command and Conquer game that they were working on canceled. They had a Warhammer Online game canceled. So they've been chasing this horse, between for a game as a service. And they farted out, the gem of Dragon Age Inquisition in between all this. But then it was that, Andromeda, and then the culmination of their effort was Anthem. And it wasn't good. It was bad. So I think the problem with BioWare, though, is they tasted success with Mass Effect and with Dragon Age Origins. But I think they've played those series out. Do we need any more in those? Really? I mean, do we need more Mass Effect? No.
I mean, why not make another Jade Empire? Jade Empire was the shit.
Why not just make something new?
Or make something new.
Make something new.
I mean, Anthem was new, but
everyone's gone. Everyone's gone at this point. Who is BioWare?
Yeah, that's the question. Who is BioWare anymore?
Everyone's gone. I mean, Mass Effect 3 came out in 2012. It's been over a decade since Mass Effect 3. Everyone's gone. And, before that, Baldur's Gate, MDK, fucking Neverwinter Nights, Knights of the Old Republic, Jade Empire, and then Mass Effect. And then it's like, okay, well, here's EA. You got to make Mass Effect 2. Now you got to make Mass Effect 3. Oh, Dragon Age Origins did well. Well, now you need to make Dragon Age 2 and Dragon Age Inquisition and Dragon. It's I think they're done, honestly, and
it feels that way, and that sucks.
I don't know that you want Dragon Age Dreadwolf being the make or break for your fucking studio.
Yeah, I mean, I think EA rode the horse until it died.
Well, they have another Mass Effect game in development, so it's like all they're doing is just Mass Effect, Dragon Age, Mass Effect, Dragon Age, and who cares anymore at this point? It's been almost 10 years since the last Dragon Age game, and it's been over 10 years since the last Mass Effect game that people even recognize as playable.
I mean, when the whole Disney buying Star Wars thing happened, and then they re-divvied out the video game rights to a bunch of different publishers. If you remember, EA was like they had the first big crack at it, and that's why the Battlefront 2 came out and all that shit. From the jump, I've been asking, why didn't they just make Knights of the Old Republic 3? I know you're talking about new stuff, but they do have enough stuff in their catalog. It's not just Mass Effect and Dragon Age.
To be fair, they only made the first Knights of the Old Republic,
which just so happens to be the best Star Wars game ever made.
True.
Ever. So make a sequel to that.
Or just stop making sequels.
I mean, again, Anthem was new and it sucked.
That's fine. You have to try stuff. The problem with Anthem wasn't that it was a bad idea. The whole they were chasing something that was already dead.
Yep.
Yep.
There is only one destiny, and people need to accept the fact that There's not a lot of room for games like Destiny that have a devoted fan base like that will keep spending the $40-$50 on your DLCs. There's not a lot of games that can get away with that.
Yeah, it's done, Just make something new. That's what I keep saying is like people are just tired of being given the same shit over and over and over again. Make something new. It wasn't that long ago. Every IP was new. Video games have only existed for a blink of humanity. Relevant video games that were worth making sequels on didn't start happening until like 85. Right. Everything was new. Make something new. It wasn't that fucking long ago. We haven't had every idea ever in the video game space.
And on top of that point, Hollywood didn't start really doing remakes and reboots and shit until cinema was almost 100 years old.
Yeah, and we're even on what I would call the tail end of that, where that's kind of run its course. But I feel the same way in gaming, that like that shit has run its course, and like you need to make something new or just die. There's not room for people to keep just doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. Yeah. Even like really successful game series like Gears, at least mixed it up enough to make it worth going on. But, what the fuck else is there to do in Mass Effect? The whole story was about Shepard and the Reapers. It's kind of that's done. It'd have to be really compelling, and like their best idea was, oh well, some people before the Reapers came got in a ship and said we're out of here because they knew some bad shit was coming, and then 600 years later they woke up in Andromeda, and guess what? There's some bad shit going on in Andromeda. It's like, what? It's just late. I mean, even though I love that game, it's fucking lazy, honestly. So whatever. Just make something new, guys. But no, their ass is pinned to the wall with fucking Dragon Age. People saying like what you said. Well, we tried something new and it was bad. Well, okay, yeah. Now they're stuck just doing. All BioWare will ever be able to do ever again is Dragon Age and Mass Effect. How long until EA shuts them down?
Yeah.
So I'm bummed.
I'm bummed too.
Because BioWare used to be the shit. And there was that leaked gameplay footage of Dreadwolf. I don't know if you saw that. Listeners.
I did.
You can find it on YouTube. It looks fucking bad.
I didn't think so. I thought
I think it looks terrible. I think you had your Johnny Paulus excited glasses on. Like if you go back and watch
probably did.
And what that was and what it looks like, and then just think about actual God of War and what that looks like.
Well, I mean, it looked like an alpha game if you're talking about graphics, but I mean, like the gameplay I thought looked good.
Oh, it looks bad. I'm concerned. This is even greater cause for concern, but I'd be a fool to think it's going to come out and be amazing. I'd be an absolute fool. Last bit, moving on. Summer Games Fest is right around the corner. I believe June 11th is the date for Summer Games Fest, and Jeff Keighley has come out and really swung his dick hard on the internet and said, hey, look, everyone, at the list of people participating in Summer Games Fest. Notable names on the list are Activision, Amazon, Bandai Namco, Capcom, CD Projekt Red, Devolver, Disney, EA, Epic Games, Focus, Gearbox, let's see, Magic the Gathering, Netflix, Nexon, Niantic, Sega, Paradox, PlayStation, Square Enix, Techland, Ubisoft, Warner Brothers, Xbox, amidst others. So rest in peace, E3.
Yeah, by E3.
Jeff Keighley has presented the format that makes sense to the world in 2023. Just have a event that's not a convention where you can blow all of your news out into the wind in a huge hype fest. Speaking of the hype fest, that is the Summer Game Fest. Johnny, which names on here are you most excited for, and why?
I'm excited about CD Projekt Red. I want to get a glimpse or a teaser or something with these Witcher projects that they're working on. I also want to see more about the Cyberpunk DLC that's coming. Obviously, I'm excited for Larian because Baldur's Gate 3 official final release is coming soon. Is definitely coming out this year. This is a game that I bought into their early access on day one and have played the game for maybe 10 hours, but that's been like 2 or 3 hours every new release. I just kind of go in and putter around. I'm really just waiting till the game is done, but I'm extremely excited about Baldur's Gate 3. Hopefully that will give us like, the full peek at the final version of the game. I am curious to see what Phoenix Labs is going to do for their next title, because they're oh, actually no, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of Phoenix Point, the video game. My bad. No, I mean, I think the big thing when you look at this list is like, who's not in this other than like Nintendo? This is like basically everyone. I mean, this is wild. This list is crazy.
Phoenix Labs is actually an interesting call out. I don't know if you would know this off the top of your head. That's the studio that did Dauntless, the really popular MMO.
Gotcha.
So when I look through this list, I mean, obviously, everyone's going to be interested in what PlayStation and Xbox are doing on a billing together. Are we going to see anything new that we didn't know about already? When I look through this list and I think of who is most likely to hit me with something that I'm not going to see coming that could be huge, I have to circle Techland. Techland, of course, is the development house behind the Dying Light games and the original Dead Island. Dying Light 2 has been out for a while now. I would think that if they were announcing a new project, maybe if they're stepping away from Dying Light for something, which would be a welcome change, come out with something new, perhaps. This would be a great place to see that. So I'm very curious to see what Techland is up to. Hopefully it's not just more Dying Light 2 updates. Hopefully it's a new project, because I really like their games. Also interested in I'm sure we're going to get things that are unexpected from Bandai and Gearbox, because those houses are just big.
Yeah. No, that was one of the ones I was going to call out as Gearbox. We really don't know what they're up to, do we?
Well, Gearbox is a lot of things, that.
Right.
Sure. The last game in the Borderlands area was Tiny Tina, so maybe we could see something new from the Borderlands world.
I could see them doing a Tiny Tina sequel.
Well, I think they will, because the game performs so well. But yeah, if I kind of have to go back and circle another one, where I think we could see something really interesting. Focus Entertainment's going to be there. So, of course, the publisher behind the Plague Tale games. Plague Tale Requiem, the game that came out last year, just received its 60 frames patch for consoles. So for anyone that's been holding off, hoping for a performance mode, it's finally there. But I am curious to see what's going on over there, if they have any new games, new IP that's going to be coming out, because I tend to like things that come from them. So very curious indeed.
Also wonder what Second Dinner's up to. Do you think they're cooking up anything special for Marvel Snap? Any big announcements?
I think they're just going to keep raking in fucking bank.
Yeah. Yeah.
And releasing cards like crazy. Like if you go through the database on Marvel Snap Zone of all the cards that exist that haven't been put into the game yet, it's just ridiculous. By the way, fuck today's special space.
Oh my god,
all those negative decks.
Yeah, that's all you can do is just a negative deck or you're fucked.
Johnny, it is time for the final segment of this week's show. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for One Up. Johnny, your One Up is not very sentimental. Mine is. It's Mother's Day. That's right. We've had a day with the moms.
We did.
And I would like to give my One Up today to Carry Out Pizza. My mom happens to be the world's biggest pizza fan. And so what could be better than having someone who is most content when you just carry out pizza? So my One Up goes to Mom this Mother's Day, and for not requiring the pampering needed of cooking or catering for a large group of people. Oh no, we just grabbed some cardboard boxes full of pizza and everyone was thrilled. So it's been a great Mother's Day, and I got leftover pizza upstairs, so I'm pretty psyched about that. And Johnny, you've muted your mic so hard, and you were coming in there like getting ready to give us your big sales pitch on whatever your One Up is this week.
So my One Up, I got curious on because I was organizing my emulation folders. I was going through my ROMs and trying to clean up duplicates and stuff like that. And I got the idea of like, there has to be a program that like puts all of your emulations together. I just want a UI where I can go in and be like, show me my Game Boy games, and then boom, there's all my Game Boy games. Well, I have discovered an amazing program called Launchbox. One word, Launchbox. And I fired it up, and I go to import, and I pointed it to my NES folder where all my Nintendo Entertainment System ROMs are. And it went, cool. Do you want me to organize these? Yeah. Okay, cool. It automatically downloads the box art for all of the games. It puts all of the games in alphabetical order. And it links with RetroArch, which if anyone's not familiar, RetroArch basically will emulate anything from Atari all the way up to like PlayStation 1, I believe. So any of those are all handled through RetroArch. So Launchbox has all of those built in. So I now have this really nice UI menu for all of my NES, SNES, Genesis, Game Boy Advance, Dreamcast, you name it. Now, on top of all of that, you can even go one step further. It has the ability to import your Epic Games library, your Steam library, your Xbox library. Any of those can all be added. So I once I'm done setting this up, I think I'm going to use this as my main video game launcher for everything. I'll have one program that can access all of my PC games, all of my whatever, Atari games, any of my MAME arcade ROMs, all that shit. So anybody that's into emulation and has, a hard drive full of all that stuff, download Launchbox and check it out. It's very cool. You do have to set up each console individually, but beyond that, it organizes them and does the art for them automatically, and it's very, very simple. It's pretty sick.
That does look cool indeed, and I do need to digitize my enormous collection at some point. So
you just need to bring an external hard drive over here.
And be very useful. Ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up this week's episode of the Power Gamer Podcast. We will, of course, be back again next week with another great show for you to endure. Until that time,
endure.
Until that.
Endure, is that the word we want to use? Thanks for enduring our show.
I'm glad you caught that. I was trying to sneak that one in. Until then, I'm Mike Dawson.
And I'm Johnny Paulus.
In. Tune in next time, motherfuckers.
That's right. Catch you on the flip flop.
Yeah.